We now return to the adventures of the sports prophet.
You have awoken the sports prophet.
Oh, wow, that's exciting. What do you do?
Well, ask me any 3 questions you want about the 2020 NBA, MLB, and NHL seasons.
Wow, that's specific. Okay, then. Who's the best player in the NBA?
By August 2020, the best player in the NBA will be TJ Warren.
Are you sure? Like he's fine, but best player in the NBA? Anyways, who's the best team in the NL East?
By August 2020, the best team in the NL East will be the Miami Marlins.
Okay, this must be a hoax or something, right? I mean, TJ Warren, the Miami Marlins. What's next? Okay, I'll test you here. So, how will the Leafs finish in 2020?
The Leafs will finish the 2020 season outside of the 16-team playoffs.
Okay, you're probably right.
Hello and welcome to the 15th episode of Crunch Time, the show where I ask a sports-related question to a panel of 4 contestants who present their answers to me in the form of 1-minute video rants. My name is Liam Crothers, and this week I've decided to ask our panelists Nick, Ella, Kyle, and Matt what team or athlete has been the most impressive in the post-stoppage season. Now, any answer may apply for this question, so long as that answer is not the Toronto Maple Leafs.
The rules of the game are simple. Our 4 contestants present their rants to me, and when the episode is over, you, the audience, votes on the winner, either in the comments section or on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Links in the description below. But before we get into the rants, let's go over last episode's voting results. Nick, who ranted that the Seattle Kraken should have called themselves the Seattle Sockeyes, won with 55% of the vote. And he also let us into his personal library, so that was nice of him. Arguing that the Seattle Kraken should have called themselves the Seattle Squids, Kennedy finished with 13% of the vote. So I guess Squids wasn't enough to ink the No, I made an ink joke last week, never mind. Lucas, who argued that the Seattle Kraken should have called themselves the Seattle Renegades, finished with just 8% of the vote. So in spite of being from Vancouver, BC, just 2.5 hours north of Seattle, Western Canada gets no say in this one. And lastly, our defending champion Emil, who argued that the Seattle Kraken should have called themselves the Seattle Space Needles, lost with 24% of the vote, proving that no one cares about a budget CN tower. Without further ado, let's get into the rants. Our returning champion, Nick Robinson, will be arguing that Manchester City have performed the best in the post-stoppage season. Personally, I can't agree with him. It's not hard to do well in a league with 6 teams.
Liverpool have grabbed all the headlines in their impressive English Premier League winning season, but it's runners-up Manchester City that have been the best side in England, or any country for that matter, since Project Restart. In their final 10 league games, the Citizens won 8 of them, outscoring their opponents 34-4 during that stretch. That's with 4 different 5-0 wins, but it's their 4-0 win over Liverpool that is probably the standout result of the bunch. After another impressive last 16 Champions League win over Real Madrid this week, the club should have all their eyes on their first ever UCL title. And at the rate they're going, I'm not going to want to face them or Pep Guardiola. Let's also add in that the world's best athlete since the restart, Kevin De Bruyne, is the one pushing this team. Here's a few quick post-lockdown stats for you. 40 chances created, 5 goals, 4 assists. His couple of curlers against Norwich City nearly brought me to tears, to be honest. While the title sits somewhere else this year, the best team and athlete in the post-lockdown world sit in the blue side of Manchester.
Thanks, Nick. It's good to know that soccer can bring tears to your eyes. Just make sure you don't cry around Manchester United, though, because they'll probably be awarded a penalty for it.
Next, we have Ella Bonaldi, arguing that the Philadelphia Flyers have performed the best in the post-stoppage season. This is an answer that is allowed, considering that the Philadelphia Flyers are not the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Personally, I think that the Philadelphia Flyers have been really impressive in their post-stoppage season, and I think they've caught a lot of other NHL teams off guard with this. So first of all, they have their rookie Nicholas Aubé-Kubel. He scored twice on Saturday night, and he's really proved how much that he's gotten better this season in general, and also in quarantine specifically. And Scott Laughton, he also leads the team in goals, and he's now a really important part of this lineup, proving that he's ready to step up to any challenge that might come his way in the upcoming games. On the other end of the ice, Carter Hart has been super strong for the Flyers in net. He has helped them win every single game that they've played in August, which basically means every game they've played since post-stoppage. But behind the bench, coach Alain Vigneault has also been really strong, and I think he's helped keep that momentum of the success that they had before stoppage. He's managed to keep that going for the team, which is really important, and I think a lot of other teams struggled with that. So although it is a well-established team, I feel like everyone's just coming together now, and it'll be really interesting to see how the next series goes.
Thanks, Ella. I think if you were to summarize the Philadelphia Flyers post-stoppage season with one word, it would be gritty. Next up, it's halftime. Halftime is brought to you by the Take to Take podcast, an NHL podcast featuring ranter Nick Robinson and Crunch Time veteran Patrick Talon. Check it out.
I want to see more people like Dan Carcillo speak out about this stuff, because I think that's how we actually end up seeing more results, and we end up solving the issues that are deep within hockey's culture.
Yeah, and we learn it so much through our program at school. It's sport and media have a very, very symbiotic relationship. The two of them have to work together. This isn't going to be something that the NHL or any level of hockey can just move and change any issues regarding abuse, racism, homophobia, whatever you want. The media has to work with them, because like you said earlier, if people in the media are fearing that they can lose their access for reporting on the fact that there's racism or homophobia, for instance, happening in NHL dressing rooms or in staffs and stuff like that, if they are fearing that they're going to lose their access to that, like, what does that say about hockey? What does that say about the media?
Next up is Kyle Cushman, arguing that NASCAR's Kevin Harvick has performed the best in this post-stoppage season. Listen, if Talladega Nights has taught me anything, it's that if you ain't first, you're last. So Kyle, you know what to do.
No athlete has been better since the restart of their season than Kevin Harvick of Stewart-Haas Racing in NASCAR's Cup Series. He's won 6 races since the restart back in May, and he's been the class of the field the entire season. He's over 130 points clear of second place in the standings over the entire season, and since the restart, he's over 180 points clear of his next closest teammate this season, just to show how truly dominant he has been in the car versus the rest of his teammates. Now, the big thing for NASCAR is how long they've really been back at the track. They've been back since May, almost 2.5, 3 months now, versus the rest of the sports world that's only been back a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, at most a month. And it's the sample size that really sets Kevin Harvick apart than the rest of the pack. He's been able to be this good and this dominant for 2.5, 3 months versus the rest of the sports world, who really have just had a hot start. For me, it's Kevin Harvick, class of the field.
Thanks, Kyle. Listen, I get that Kevin Harvick is fast, but do you think he could really hang with me on the Don Valley Parkway? I'd leave that guy in the dust. Come on.
Last but not least, we have Matt Mallard, arguing that Carey Price of the Montreal Canadiens has performed the best in this post-stoppage season. Once again, this hockey answer makes sense, as Carey Price doesn't play for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
There have been a ton of athletes performing at elite levels since the post-stoppage season has resumed, but my pick for the best athlete and the best performance so far since their season has kicked off is Carey Price, goaltender of the Montreal Canadiens. When everyone heard that Montreal would have to play Pittsburgh in order to advance to the playoffs, everybody essentially wrote them off because they thought they had no chance of beating them as the 24th seed. However, enter Carey Price in his monster performance against them. He put up I believe it was a .947 save percentage, a .167 goals against average, and to top it off, defeating them in the 4th game while posting a 22 save shutout against Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Jake Gensel, all those players. It's insane. Everybody had written off the Montreal Canadiens, and in comes Carey Price and puts out this fantastic performance. Everybody knew that that's the way he would have to play if the Montreal Canadiens were to have any chance in advancing, and that's exactly what he did, and that's why the Montreal Canadiens are moving forward.
Thanks, Matt. It's really nice to hear that a goalie can perform when his team needs him. Must be nice.
Well, that's going to do it for Crunch Time this week. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. More importantly, make sure to vote for the episode winner, either in the comments or on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. You can follow all of our Crunch Time ranters on social media with links in the description below. And be sure to check out the Take to Take podcast. My name is Liam Crothers. Thank you for watching Crunch Time.